Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where this year San Diego Comic-Con took on a different bit of a feel. In the past, Comic-Con has had a lot of announcements that were news, right? Oh, we're starting this new, remember, Kaiju Cinematic Universe with Godzilla and Kong, etc., right? These movies are going to take place. Marvel's the only one who really did that this year. Fox kind of cheated because Noah Hawley made his own Doctor Doom announcement, but Marvel was the only one who officially did like full news announcements with the casting of Ant-Man and Wasp, announcements of cast members and who they were playing, and then also Captain Marvel details and concept art. Nobody else played that game, which I thought was really interesting. We're going to talk about some DC headlines, in fact, today on this episode, because I have no visuals to show you, so I can't really give them their own episodes because no logos or even posters or concept art was released. And I think that was a bit of a mistake. Instead, Comic-Con this year became a little bit more of just like a fan celebration, which was great on Saturday because there was a lot to celebrate with Justice League and then, the Marvel stuff. But I think that I wonder if Comic-Con will, if this was just an off year, because, people talked about them not doing anything with X-Men over at Fox, although word on the street is that Deadpool is going to get his first big push at New York Comic-Con, which would be new for that convention, because that's never had a big movie presence, really, beyond like low-budget horror films and the like. So very interesting. If I were the Comic-Con people who run San Diego, I would be like, how can I get back to the announcements, right? I would maybe reach out to the studios and be like, I know it's easy now to just make an announcement any old time, but could you save a couple for Comic-Con, baby? I mean, it's important to keeping the thing as an event, right? That people follow beyond it. You want people to attend, but you also want them to follow. And I don't know if that will continue if they don't have any more news stories. All right, so anyway, let's get to the top story of the day, which actually is not at all Comic-Con related. It was an announcement made in the trades, but it does involve a comic book, so it kind of counts. It's actually the most interesting story because it's really, that Jason Blum, what a maverick guy. So anyway, whenever I talk about, the early comic book movies, right? You guys always mention Blade and the importance of Blade, and I think that's true. Blade, Spider-Man, and X-Men were the comic properties that really laid the groundwork for the renaissance we're enjoying today. But also when I talk about black comic book superhero characters, you guys not only talk about Blade, but without fail, someone's always like, don't forget about Spawn. And a lot of people do forget about Spawn because it's always been like a niche property. Sure, it had a movie. Sure, it had a comic book. I think it was kind of big for a while, but it just hasn't maintained. But anyway, while Blade is still stuck in limbo, occasionally popping up in the Marvel Comics, for instance, he showed up in the Defenders, issue 2, which I thought was interesting. I think it was issue 2 or issue 1. I think it was 2. But Marvel's new comic, which is actually pretty good. But it makes me wonder if eventually he'll show up on the Marvel Netflix series, which would be pretty cool. But anyway, and Wesley Snipes, I think, would act in those, or they might have to recast at this point. But anyway, Spawn is going back to the silver screen because Jason Blum is going to produce. But get this, it gets even more interesting. Todd McFarlane, the comic book artist and creator of Spawn, is not only writing the script for this new Spawn movie, but he's going to make his directorial debut. Damn! Wow, that is huge! Hollywood and comic book creators usually do not get along. Just ask Alan Moore. I mean, imagine if Alan Moore were invited to write his own scripts for Watchmen, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That would be amazing! I mean, it's like kind of like a dream come true. And I think it's great that Jason Blum is a very good businessman. I think he does have a lot of respect for the creative process and is willing to take risks on people. He can afford to because these films are so low budget, and Spawn is going to be a low budget film. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I think he knows this is a great pitch. Spawn by Todd McFarlane, finally the way it's supposed to be. So make no mistake, I'm sure he was very happy to give Todd McFarlane this opportunity, but he's going to benefit from it considerably, especially if it works out. Todd McFarlane must be really good in a room. It must have been a great pitch. And there's a lot riding on this, because if Todd McFarlane succeeds, it'll open the door for a lot of other comic book people to potentially be involved in their properties going forward. I'd like to stress, though, and Alan Moore himself has pointed this out, that it's very difficult to switch mediums. You might be like, hey, storytelling is storytelling, man. No, it's very different. from comic books to TV to movies to even digital. It's different audiences, different feel, different structure to the writing in terms of the breaks, you know, like you have to have commercial breaks, or you have to write episodically, or, you know, you're writing for a medium like comics, which is static visuals, right? And then movies have like only like a 2 hour, 3x, but they're 2 hours or so, but they have to have a 3x structure. It's all very, very different. And so it's not that you can't transition from medium to medium, but don't think it's going to be easy. So for all comic book creators who are like, oh man, thanks Todd McFarlane, open the door for me, I hope that they're practicing their movie or TV writing as we speak so that they can hit the ground running. But Todd McFarlane is a co-founder of Image Comics, and that ended up turning out pretty darn well, although that's largely thanks to The Walking Dead and Robert Kirkman. Although, interestingly enough, Robert Kirkman really hasn't been able to do anything outside of The Walking Dead. So, as you can see, it's a tough business. So anyway, Spawn, the movie, the new movie, will be low budget, Blum's specialty, and what allows him to be able to take risks because it doesn't cost anybody any money. So they're like, sure, why not? And it's very clever of McFarlane, to his credit again, that he was willing to do a low-budget Spawn movie. He could very easily have been like, have you read my comic? You know, have you seen the other comic book movies out there? Spawn needs a budget. Instead, he was like, you know what? I will trade a big budget for creative control. So that's exciting. And I think, again, a good business decision on McFarlane's part. Now, McFarlane, he's directed a few short films over the years, so he's not totally a newbie behind the camera, but he's pretty new. He's like a toddler director. So hopefully he'll get strong assistance from a good cinematographer and a first assistant director. Hopefully also a VFX supervisor, but I don't know how much visual effects would be in such a low budget film. So we'll see. And then again, of course, it has you know, the lead character will be a black actor, and you know, but I think that the groundwork's being set very well for that with, you know, the success of you know, Get Out, of course, like even this Girls' Night this weekend, you know, from Malcolm D. Lee, and then also Black Panther, of course, coming up. So, you know, this is not outside the realm of normal anymore to Hollywood. So I think it's coming at a really good time. So it's very good. It's very, very smart. I like it. Congratulations to everybody involved. I think this sounds awesome. Any actor, any black actor in Hollywood should be working very hard to get to be in this project. All right, so let's talk some DC headlines. So the first up is that DC, at the end of their panel, the Warner Brothers panel, put up a number of movies that are coming up for the DCEU. And they had logos, but they didn't officially release the logos, which I thought was odd. It was the usual suspects that we all know about already, but with only two things of note. One is that there was no Gotham City Sirens on the list, but there was a Suicide Squad 2. Perhaps they realized that taking Harley Quinn out of Suicide Squad would probably make that film DOA. So I'm very curious about that situation, although David Ayer isn't attached to that movie, although to many that is a cause for celebration. So would he be left out in the cold yet again? Margot Robbie's like, sorry. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what happens with Gotham City Sirens. They could easily just do that in Suicide Squad 2, but then they're kind of just turning that into Gotham City Sirens. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then the other thing, of course, was that Flash has now been renamed the Flash solo movie, Flashpoint. And a lot of people got excited about that. I really disliked the Flashpoint storyline. I was not a fan. Like, one of the main things was that, like, Thomas Wayne was the one who survived the shooting in the alley, Bruce's father, and he became Batman. I was like, how does a doctor become Batman? I'm like, well, okay, whatever. He had a cool costume with, like, red lenses for the eyes. That was kind of neat. But anyway, if they do an alternate reality just for the movie, so because what happens is that Flash does something that alters the time stream, Marty McFly style, and just like when Marty went back, Biff was in charge. Here, it's a totally different reality. Although I have to say, what Flashpoint did with the Joker, I don't want to give it away, was pretty awesome. But anyway, that was the only thing I really liked about it. But anyway, so if they do it just for the movie alone, that could be a lot of fun, an alternate reality movie. And you can have all the actors who are in the DCEU have some fun, and then everything would reset at the end of the film. If this is an excuse to reboot the DCEU, I do not like that at all. And I also feel that having this on the board gives, you know, new life to the rumors that Ben Affleck tried to squash at Comic-Con that he wants out. And I think that everyone will look to this movie and say, okay, he'll be Batman until Flashpoint, and then they'll get somebody else. And I just think that's just, I don't like the whole thing. It's frustrating. All right, so anyway, and also I have to tell you, well, no, that was like in the upcoming thing that they were doing. It's weird. DC has too many things going on right now. They have, like, they're supposed to be introducing the Watchmen, but then they're also doing this Metal Days thing, and of course Batman's at the center of everything. So we'll see what happens. But I'm curious what you guys think about the lineup. Would you feel bad if Gotham City Sirens was gone and went to Suicide Squad 2. Do you agree with that decision that Harley Quinn has to be in the sequel to make that work? And then also, what do you think of Flashpoint? Do you want it to reset the DCEU? I'm sure some of you are like, yes, I do. And although, how do you feel about that, etc. All right, and what do you think of my idea that it would just be for one movie? I think you'd have to maybe do that as 2 movies, though. That seems like a tall order. All right, but you could do it, I think. So anyway, then the third story is that DC announced a slate of upcoming animated movies. Again, no artwork. They should have had posters or something, or voice talent that was attached. It didn't make the splash that it should have. So anyway, they're doing a Death of Superman 2-parter. Okay, so they're doing Superman Doomsday, which is when Superman was killed, and then they're going to do the follow-up, which is Reign of the Supermen, which is a bunch of Supermen that showed up to kind of take his place. And that was pretty interesting. That was the introduction of the current Superboy. Although now I think Superman's son is Superboy. But anyway, those are 2 actually pretty darn good stories. Although, again, I continue to be conflicted. I'm like, just read the original comic. Why do you need an animated version of it? Although there is an original animated movie that they did announce, which I'm excited about. So anyway, I also think it's weird to celebrate the death of Superman so much, considering that they kind of like didn't do anything with it in the movie, the DCEU. He died like really quickly in Batman v Superman, and then, I don't think there was any emotional heft to it, and everyone knew he was going to come back. I mean, like, I guess the good thing is you'll see how it should have been done. I thought that the Doomsday storyline was actually quite good. All right, so then the other thing they're going to do is Batman Gotham by Gaslight, another Elseworld story. This is Batman in Victorian Gotham. That'll be, I think, interesting. It's kind of basically like when they do like Spider-Man Noir and stuff. And then also Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. This is going to be another animated Suicide Squad movie. Assault on Arkham is one of my favorite DC animated movies, and it was the inspiration for creating a Suicide Squad live action film because it was received so well. But that was set in the continuity on the Arkham games. But this one is going to be in the animation continuity. So then that'll be interesting, and I think you'll therefore see a Harley Quinn who looks like Margot Robbie, with the coloring that they've even put into the comics. And so they didn't even say what the story was about, but I'm curious to see what it is. That's to me the most exciting of the 3 announcements from animation. All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day. I'm curious to hear what you think of them. And then I have a very good viewer question here from Saberstar. What a great name. All right, so Saberstar says, "Hi, Grace. I have a question. I was wondering about the distinction between TV actors and movie actors. I know the obvious medium difference, but I was curious about why the stigma exists and what makes it bad. Thank you. Love the show." Great question, Saberstar. Thank you for giving me the chance to clarify. So I'll often say that someone's a TV actor and then someone's a movie actor. A really good example is Reese Witherspoon. And a lot of you got upset with me when I recently labeled her a TV actor in the Wrinkle in Time trailer. And you were like, she started out as a movie actor, Grace, and a movie actor she always will be. I don't believe so. I think that she has her biggest success now with Big Little Lies, and so I think to a lot of people she's a TV actor. And I think that there are, of course, exceptions to everything, right? There's always someone who's going to do well in movies and TV, who can make the jump. And so for some people, the jump's very easy. Like Bryan Cranston, I think, had an opportunity to make the jump quite well, but then he just picked odd projects. And I'm sure he's very happy. Bryan Cranston's like, I don't want to be a movie star. I have a lot of money from Breaking Bad. I'm super wealthy. I'm just going to do what I want. And I have to say that Trumbo was one of the best movies I've ever seen, and you should definitely watch it, about one of the most famous screenwriters ever to work in Hollywood. So anyway, who was dealt with the blacklist and, the whole thing with communism. It's very good. So anyway, TV actors and movie actors. All right, so here's the thing. It's how the audience views the person. They're like, are you the level of movies are supposed to be like a really big deal that are worth going to, leaving your house, paying a lot of money, not only for the ticket, but for snacks, braving the crowd now. That's another thing, like the really disruptive crowd, having to be stressed out if someone's going to go on their stupid cell phone during the movie, or now take a photo in the actual theater while the movie is playing. I've even seen people start to record part of the movie, and you're like, this is like they're at a concert. So it's like, what is worth it? Now, if you have somebody who you see on television all the time, you're like, oh, okay, well, that person, I'm used to watching them on TV. I don't really think they're worth my paying. They're not of that caliber, right? So it's really like a caliber thing. And I think that that's the distinction between the two. And I think that it's not so much, I wouldn't say it's a stigma, It's just what makes it worth, like for instance, let's take Jon Snow. He's another really good, Kit Harington. That's another really good example. People love Jon Snow. Jon Snow is so popular. Whenever they cover Game of Thrones, they stick his face on whatever the cover of what it is. It's a magazine, it's a, whatever. But Kit Harington cannot get in a movie. And he's got a couple of really bad films that he starred in, but no one showed up, right? And I'm sure some of you are saying, well, they were bad movies, Grace. But, he has such a large fan base. No one from that fan base gave him the benefit of the doubt or was like, I just enjoy Kit Harington so much, I'm going to go see his movie, right? I mean, that's just the difference. People are like, yeah, I love Kit Harington on TV, but I'm not willing to pay to see Kit Harington. Because you might say, well, HBO is not a free service, but you pay for your subscription overall. You don't pay per episode. So that's it's really, it's what motivates people, and it's an image and how that people see that actor, and it's just a feeling, and I think that's the difference between them. It used to be a little more distinct, when TV, the line between TV and movies was a little bit more clear, but also take even Charlie Cox or Kristen Ritter. Look at the Defenders cast, very popular. You don't see them getting any movie roles because people just don't have faith that they're going to want to, the audiences will pay to see them because they can see them for so many episodes for free. And so that's why producers act that way. That's why they make the choices that they do. They'd rather get an unknown and say this is a new movie actor than try to repurpose a TV actor because they just don't want to take the risk that you won't pay to see them. And it's just, it's almost Pavlovian. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. It's what's the Pavlovian response from the movie, from the consumer. And that's what delineates TV and movie actors. And you can just see it. I know some of you are going to argue with me in the comments and be like, I don't agree with this, and actors shouldn't be categorized, and it's an art, et cetera, et cetera. But just go and look and take TV actors, and you'll see that they're not able to make the switch, on the most popular shows, and they're not in any movies. And that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's just the way the movie-going audience operates. And Hollywood is reacting to that, the way the moviegoer acts. All right, so that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please write down below what you would like to see covered tomorrow, and any questions, of course, that you might have. Thanks for watching.